Let's start you off here with a beautiful pic of Monument Circle with our skyline sort of there in the back. Looks like the trees are getting a little leaves. You see sort of a breeze there. I'm trying here. We told you that there is a cool down on the way. You may not feel much of that this morning. We're going to let you know about the storms that are moving into our area and that cool down that is on the way. But we're glad you're up with us here on 13 Sunrise. It is 6 o'clock. It is Tuesday morning. We're rolling on into the weekend because I start counting down on Monday.
Okay.
Especially since we know that we're going to have that cool down this weekend.
Yeah, a little something to look forward to if you're over the heat, but it does come with maybe some rain chances today.
Yeah, we're going to see some isolated storms as well. This is not going to be one of those things where we'll see widespread severe weather, but there might be an isolated storm that has some damaging wind gusts in it. So I want you to be prepared for this. First and foremost, the bigger picture on the radar. We've had some pretty stormy weather across northwestern Indiana so far today, and that does include some of our friends up near Delphi, moving through portions of Carroll County. As we speak, Monticello just got hit with a pretty heavy downpour there. We've got some embedded lightning, potentially some wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour. Nothing that's going to be of severe limits out there this morning. In fact, we've really seen this line weaken here over the past few radar scans. We had some kind of purples embedded within that. That would be some very heavy rainfall rates, potentially some very small hail. That does not no longer looks to be the case. So we'll keep you posted on this again. Looks like some lightning, some heavy rainfall getting ready to move into the Delphi area here within the next 10 to 15 minutes. All of that associated with a warm front that's lifting through the northern tier of the state and has been during the overnight. The rest of the state, we're sitting in the warm sector of this weather system. So that's a surge of that tropical moisture that's going to fuel these storms later today once that cold front that's now back to our west eventually arrives. That's why we're seeing a little bit of a difference in dew points. A little drier air over in Richmond versus a very humid air mass from Indianapolis toward Terre Haute. We are still headed back to 90 today. Going to feel more like 101 for your max heat index before those storms arrive. We'll talk more about the timeline, those pop-up storms through the afternoon and evening, and then relief from that heat in your 7-day forecast. 6:02 now. Looks pretty quiet around the Indy Metro on your road, so that's a good way to get our Tuesday morning started. But we are seeing a little bit of a backup here on the near south side, and this is a very typical backup spot here in the construction zone. So we're going to keep you posted with this. Take you live out to our INDOT camera located at Raymond Street. This is looking north toward the south split. Still been seeing a little bit of brake light action as you approach the south split up there this morning. Still relatively light as far as our traffic flow goes. But again, we've got reduced speed limits here in this construction zone down to 45 miles per hour as you approach the south split. That delay has gotten a little better on 65 northbound in between Southport Road and the South Split. So that's some good news there, but we'll continue to monitor that and keep you posted with any new accidents or delays around the metro this morning. Guys?
Thanks, Lindsay. Getting stolen cars off the interstates. That's what state police say. They are doing more and more.
Yeah, ISP says that they've recovered more than 300 of those stolen cars this year. Let's get to Anna Chalker, who is live this morning with a look at the strategy here and getting these cars back. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning, ladies. The majority of these cars that are recovered have been stolen locally, but state police say many of them were actually taken from outside of the city. Now, I want to break down all of the recovery efforts within the last 8 months. Take a look at your screen. State police say this year they have recovered 336 vehicles. And get this, over half of them, 192, were recovered from the night shift B squad. Now, this is not an auto theft squad, just an everyday patrol one with 13 troopers and 2 supervisors. The department says this squad has made it their mission to track down as many stolen cars as they can during their shift. Sergeant John Perrine says this year it has become easier for troopers to track down these cars because of the improvements in technology and the strategies troopers on shift have created.
It's more than just sitting next to a traffic camera and waiting for an alert. They have to position themselves through teamwork, through communication. So not only are they ready to intercept that vehicle, but they can do that safely, knowing that a lot of people driving stolen cars don't pull over for police.
The efforts have resulted in 359 people going to jail this year. 13 of them were caught by this specific night squad. Now, state police telling us that auto theft is not the only charge these people will face when they are arrested. So coming up at 6:30, we'll look into the other charges you may see, but also how this is impacting people off of the road. Live in Indianapolis, Anna Chalker, 13 News.
Thank you, Anna.
New details this morning on efforts to crack down on reckless driving here in Indianapolis.
IMPD and state police say that officers made 8 arrests. They issued 11 traffic citations, recovered 2 more stolen cars, and issued 2 ordinance violations. This was all over the weekend. Police also shared some details of a Saturday night arrest on Enterprise Park Place near Keystone and I-70.
That's where police say a black Challenger started spinning in a parking lot there with a large crowd nearby. Police arrested that driver.
Well, this morning, a family is devastated after the death of a 17-year-old over the weekend.
Xavion Whitlow was shot and killed at a party over the weekend. Police say he was killed at an apartment Sunday morning near 22nd and Central. Officers believe that party was at a short-term rental inside the newly built apartments, but they're working now to identify the shooter and why that person opened fire.
Xavion's grandmother tells us that everyone ran off and left her grandson by himself. She says that he worked to promote peace in our city.
He was a kind person. He was a mannerable person. He was a very smart person. He's always, to me, been ahead of his times. He went to church. We belonged to Restoration Church.
Well, his family goes on to tell us that Xavion was a student at George Washington High School. He played basketball. He would have graduated this coming June.
We did reach out to leaders at that apartment complex. They tell us they sent our questions to corporate.
This is a developing story we're following this morning. Some newly released court documents that are providing a detailed look at the circumstances that may have led to a man's death in a hit and run involving his own car.
And in those documents, Metro Police say the suspect actually confessed to the crime. So 56-year-old Robbie Vedito died in the crash at Denison Street and West Troy Avenue last Thursday.
In these court documents, Metro Police say the suspect admitted he'd been arguing with his ex-girlfriend in the street when Vedito drove by and stopped, yelling at them to get out of the road. Then the suspect says he threw a plate of food at the SUV and got into a fist fight with Vedito.
That's when police say the suspect admitted to then searching Vedito for valuables before getting in the victim's car and driving away. But then police say he confessed to turning around and running Vedito over. In his confession, police say the suspect admitted to running him over because he was afraid his ex-girlfriend was going to run off with him.
The suspect is now facing multiple preliminary charges. They include murder, robbery causing serious bodily injury, auto theft, and battery with injury.
This morning, investigators have now identified the 3-year-old boy pulled from a retention pond at an apartment complex on Indy's northeast side. That boy's mother says she came home, found the door open, and 3-year-old Kamari Williams missing. A neighbor found him in a water nearby before that little boy eventually died at the hospital. The boy's mother telling us how hard this has been on their family.
We just want everybody to keep us in their prayers and just watch our babies, please. Just watch them, because in a blink of an eye, anything can happen, anything. And I'm sorry that this happened to my sister and my brother-in-law.
Police are looking into who was home with that little boy at the time and how he got outside.
A former Avon chiropractor who admitted to sexually assaulting patients was sentenced by a Hendricks County judge.
Rock Bird took a plea agreement pleading guilty to 4 counts of sexual battery against patients at his Cornerstone Chiropractic Clinic. The judge sentenced Bird to 6 years on work release.
Several victims at that hearing wanted the case to go to trial. They didn't want to speak with us on camera. Bird can never practice as a chiropractor again as part of this plea deal. He has to register as a sex offender and must undergo therapy.
He did give a brief statement before learning that sentence, saying, quote, "I am very sorry for the pain I've caused to the victims, my family, and the community. My remorse is indescribable. I'm fully committed to being a better man and whatever therapy is prescribed."
Tensions running high. This is at a public hearing to talk about yet another AES rate increase.
We told you yesterday about how the company wants to up the bills, increasing bills by about 13.5%. So Marina Silva is live downtown with what people had to say at last night's meeting. Hey, Marina.
Good morning, ladies. Well, stakeholders for AES are waking up with a lot to think about after customers had their first chance at that public hearing to voice their concerns over the potential rate increase. Now, a lot of those people are saying they can barely afford to keep the lights on as it is without another rate increase. So AES asked the state for a 13.5% increase. That would raise the average bill to about $21 a month. They said they need the money for storm response, system upgrades, and grid reliability. And one of those things they say is vegetation management. They're saying the rate has gone up since the last review.
Right now we're experiencing an affordability crisis here in Indiana, and this rate increase would exacerbate that. AES Indiana just got a rate increase approval back in April of 2024. So this is fresh off of a recent rate increase. Now they want a large increase on top of that. Hoosiers are already struggling to pay their bills.
Now that first public hearing is over, we're looking ahead to the second one. That's this Thursday. It's at 6 p.m. It's at the Southeastern Community Services. You can also send AES a letter with your thoughts. Those are due by September 2nd, and we have that information on where you can send the letter to on our website. Back to you, ladies.
All right, thank you, Marina.
Right now, Facebook's parent company is working to bring a massive data center to Lebanon.
And neighbors there have had a lot to say about this. That proposal, though, made it past the next hurdle. The Plan Commission gave it the green light. The city leaders say that that's a major step before crews can actually start construction.
So up next, the council will have to sign off on a couple things, including road closures. That's expected to happen in the next couple of weeks. Lebanon's Director of Planning and Zoning tells us the goal here is to prioritize both the people who live there and the city's future.
And what we're doing is making sure that whatever goes there meets our standards, and the standards are very high. So we want to make sure as much as possible to protect the people that live in the area and or around the area. Are things going to change? Absolutely. But we're trying to do the best we can to minimize the impacts as much as possible.
So the data center will sit on about 1,500 acres in the southern part of the area's Leap District.
And we could see first construction activity on that site this fall. We're back in minutes.